You're funny.
Like I said. Like I said. Like I said. Do you like my tail? Like I said.
Welcome back to another installment of Iron Rage. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today I'm joined by my very special guest host, John Romano, and we might have Lee Priest at some point dropping. I don't know where he is. I hope he's not in the emergency room, because you know, John, that Jimmy the Bull and him love to go to the emergency room at the drop of anything being wrong with them.
Yep. I would first like to say thank you for having me on the show. We were originally supposed to do together in the beginning.
Yes,
you got a bigger name, and now I fill in, which is fine.
I love it. John, you were going on too many vacations, like to the 14 hours up north and coming 14 hours back. You weren't available all the time.
I know.
Now you're available again, because I think you're like semi-retired now, aren't you?
I am. Yep.
Yes.
Except I'm busier than I've ever been.
I know. Now Valerie has projects for you at the house. That's why.
Oh, I've always had those, but no. What I have, I definitely have the honey-do list. That's never. I got to go hang up a lamp after this.
Yeah.
But no. Ever since I started building bikes again, man, I am so freaking busy. It's like I'm out in I do like you. I walk across the driveway, go to the shop. I spend half the day in there, and then I come back to the office and work the rest of the day.
Are you building them for yourself, or are you building them for other people now?
Well, that's a good question. I tend to fall in love with what I build.
So, order.
I ride them until I build it, put it up for sale, and ride it till I sell it, and then start another. I got two going like all the time.
What do you got going now?
I got a MV Agusta Brutale 800 and a Honda CB 500 70s bike. Yeah, that's the Honda Rebel that Valerie rides, and that's the MV. But neither of those bikes look anything like that, right?
What do you do? What do you do to the bikes, though? You add extra aftermarket stuff on them?
I actually make my own stuff. Like the MV, I'll give you an example. The MV had a you can sort of see it like on the back wheel. It has this giant arm that comes across the swing arm around the back. It holds the license plate, the blinkers, and the license plate light. So I wanted to get rid of it because it hides the back wheel. I got this big fat back tire, and it's hidden with the plate and that big arm thing that holds it up. So in order to get rid of that, I had to find a place to mount the license plate. I had to find an alternative for the turn signals, and I had to find a new place to put the license plate light. So I literally manufactured pieces that accomplish those things, and I'll send you a picture of the finished product so you can.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. John, I'll give John credit for something. I've never seen anyone who. There's a lot of people that are good carpenters and good construction guys, but you're a creative carpenter, I call it, because you don't have to have even I can just tell you, this is what I want you to do. And most people would say, you're out of your mind. That's too unconventional. And you would do it. You would somehow figure out how to make it happen. It's like you're a creative, like, carpenter almost.
Well, to me, as I do almost everything, it's an artistic expression. Yeah. I don't like plans. I don't like, drawings. I don't like any of that crap. You know why? Because every piece that you work on, unless it's a flat slab of concrete, everything you work on has a character. It has some piece that lends itself to the ultimate design. And the challenge is identifying that and then utilizing it to create the ultimate, the end result. So, I mean, like the island I'm working on now, I needed a rock bulkhead wall to keep the water from the flood water from running down the stream, from eroding all the dirt that holds the island up. So yeah, I mean, it had a contour, it had some trees in the right place. So I played off of that, and it flows kind of naturally into its own sense. I find everything has its own personality. You just have to unlock it and add on to it, and
we have all these trees down here in my house, from the hurricane still. Ricky never showed up, by the way. Although he did offer to come, but he's made like over 100, like I think like $200,000 he's up to.
With his chainsaw.
Great, yeah, Ricky. Yeah, he's been in Fort Myers Beach. You know, it's a disaster there. He's been cutting trees nonstop every day. So he ran back to literally, I think he ran back to Louisiana for like a weekend to do some, I don't know, some kind of like charity event. And then he took his boat, John, and he took the boat back around. It's not an easy boat ride, you know, from all the way up the Gulf, all the way up to Fort Myers. I think I don't even know where he's docking it or something like that. He's like, you can come, I'll give your family a tour, you know, of Sanibel. I said, Sanibel's destroyed. Said, so how are we going to get to Sanibel to get on your boat?
I'm surprised he didn't ride his bike.
Yeah. I love Ricky. He's doing some kind of, I don't know, I think he's raising money now for some event he's doing for the veterans who are from Fort Myers, which is our area because of the hurricane. Because a lot of people don't have any place to live, you know. So
I didn't realize it was as bad as it was until a friend of mine started sending me some photos. It's like, holy shit, I had no idea it was that bad.
Yeah, really. You know, Lori, I don't know if you know Lori Coppola. She had come on our TV show a few times when we were in New York. She moved down here and she's living in Cape Coral. And then I think she moved to Matlacha Island, which is part of Pine Island, which got destroyed. And she was doing like paddle boarding. You know, she was like doing paddle boarding tours, and she was really, and her whole house, wherever she was staying, was completely wiped out. It was a disaster. So anyway, so I got all these trees down in my yard, and so I'm building, or I have a guy who's built me some outdoor reptile enclosures for like my big snakes. So because the weather is perfect here for certain snakes, that especially if they need to get a little cooler in the winter, because we get some cool days, you know, 50 degrees and stuff like that, which is really not that cool, but for snakes it's cool. And so I was looking for branches to put in these things. And like you said, you know, I don't know if you've seen eucalyptus trees have the most weird, twisty, contorted like branches. And, you know, they're on the ground, and I got Pablo, this guy works for me, and we're cutting them up, and we're like, we could put this here. And we're taking the shape of the tree rather than getting rid of those twists. We're using that in the enclosure so that it naturally flows, and it just looks like a real naturalistic type of setup. But that goes right back to what you're saying. You can't change, you know, it's stupid to try to make these straight branches, you know, it just doesn't look cool, you know.
You should always work with the form that nature started with. Nothing drives me more crazy than straight lines, right angles, you know, no character. It's terrible. You know, there's no enjoyment to that. You know, but having said that, one of the most difficult things to make as a carpenter is an absolute square cube with a top on it. You know,
why is that?
Because anytime you have to join, you know, right angles multiple times, if you're off by this much, by the time at the starting point, by the time you get down however far you're going, every millimeter you go, that angle magnifies itself. So even something small like 1 foot by 12 inches by 12 inches, if you're off a 32nd of an inch, which is almost nothing at the beginning, that can turn into 1/8 of an inch by the time you get to the end of the foot. And then that's off. Your 45-degree angle is off. The next angle is off. And then the whole thing's a fucking mess. So yeah,
it doesn't stand right either. It kind of leans.
No, it's twisted. It's saying you can't straighten it out. It looks like shit. You know. So yeah, sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things because they have to be perfect.
Right.
And I always think back to whomever built the pyramids, is that, and it wasn't the Egyptians, or at least not the Egyptians from 4,000 years ago, but it was the fact that pyramid is perfectly square, perfectly level, exactly. That's 400 and something meters, 460 meters high. Every course of block that you had to go up on that had to be absolutely perfectly level and plumb, because if it wasn't, it would have thrown the whole thing off. That pyramid, not only is that pyramid perfect, 4-sided pyramid, it's actually 8-sided.
Oh, it is?
Each triangle has a line down the middle from the point to the base at the midpoint. and it's actually 8-sided, and nobody can figure that one out.
Wow. And it looks just like stacked rocks. That's the funny thing.
I going up to that thing and actually putting your hands on it is there's an energy to it. You can feel the age and the the antiquity of it. You can feel, but you look at those blocks and you look at how freaking big they are and how perfect they are. And it looks like rubble right there. But if you look up close, you look at every one of those lines, every one of those edges. Those angles are perfect 90-degree edges. I brought a square with me and measured them.
But if there was technology there back in those days, like alien technology or aliens were here or whatever, instructing people using instrumentation to build these things, why do they just rocks? Why didn't they do something more sophisticated?
I have the perfect answer for
All
that.
right.
Number one, it wasn't aliens.
Okay.
This is purely my belief, whatever you want to call me crazy, but this is what I believe. It was impossible, physically impossible, for the Bronze Age Egyptians, the dynastic Egyptians, who had tools that were either wood, stone, or copper, or bronze, actually, copper bronze. You cannot carve granite, which is a 9 on the hardness scale, diamond being 10, with a copper chisel. It will not cut it. The chisel will bend, the granite will stay unaffected. Now the pyramids are made out of limestone and granite. So there's the granite pieces, even the limestone pieces. There's over 2 million blocks in that thing, ranging from 2 to 20 tons, and they're all perfect. And so how can you carve that stuff with tools that can't cut it? That's number one. Number two, Khufu, the first of the dynastic Egyptians, he was a couple of years out of the Stone Age. Most of the rest of the world was walking around in animal skins when those things were allegedly built.
Allegedly.
How are you going to get a 700-foot, 13-acre perfect square to go up like this perfectly? And not to mention the galleries inside, the passageways, all of the. How are you going to do that with the engineering involved? Where did the engineering come from? Forget the tools and the know-how. Where did the engineering come from to be able to? So
where did it come from?
This is what I believe. Okay. How long has modern man, allegedly been on Earth? 250,000 years.
I don't even think it's that long.
Give or take.
You're talking about like the hominid fossils, remains of like caveman?
No. Yeah. How far back?
I think what recorded history is only like 10,000 years or something like that, or
something like that. Yeah. So modern man is about 250,000 years old. All right, from the hominids on up. The Earth is about 4 billion years old, 4 or 5 billion years old, they say, something like that. Could be more. Okay. In the grand scheme of things, that 200,000 years is like a second.
Right.
Okay. What if we're off by a couple 100,000 years? Could have been, right? There's evidence of a cataclysmic event in Egypt. There's burnt, rocks and, just strewn rubble all over the place that you could never pick up. Okay. So I believe that there was another human civilization here a couple 100,000 years ago.
Okay.
That they don't, and the only thing that would have survived is the rocks.
Right.
Okay. Bridges, anything made out of metal, buildings, all of that shit would have, with no maintenance, would have disintegrated in a couple thousand years. So you got 100,000 years of decay, of dead time, whatever, until the new humans, evolved and grew up and got to the point where they could, do stuff.
Were they? You think they were humans though? You think they were just like us, or do you think there was like a different race of like?
I don't know. They got these skulls with elongated heads, and I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. But what I will tell you is that the Egyptians chronicled everything. Right. There's writings for everything in the hieroglyphs, from embalming bodies to making wine to cooking to everything, and even having sex. There's even sex hieroglyphics.
Oh, there is?
The only thing that's fucking missing is how did you build the pyramids?
So you don't think they built it? They just were living in them.
They were there. When they ever came of age or came of acknowledgement, they were already there.
Gotcha.
The Sphinx was already there. The pyramids were already there. They were the only surviving things because they were rocks. And
makes sense.
100,000 years after we're gone, all that's going to survive is the rocks.
Right. Do you think we could build those pyramids today with the technology we have? So we don't even have enough technology today to build those things, is what you're saying.
I mean, we could technically do it, but it would take forever.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Dubai, they'd probably knock it out in a year because they work around the clock there.
Well, you got to look at it this way. The alleged time frame for the Great Pyramid was 25 years. Khufu's lifespan could have been 30.
Yeah.
It's 2.2 million blocks weighing between, like I said, 2 and 20 tons a piece. They would have had to have cut in the quarry, transported from the quarry to the pyramid site, moved the block up to the pyramid site, and set it one block every 2 minutes, 24 hours a day for 25 years.
Yeah, it's almost sensitive.
With a copper chisel and a rock. That's
So what, given the civilization that might have been there, what do you think they actually used to move those fuckers?
You know, that's a good question, because one of the big things is how did they cut them? And there's an obelisk in Iraq.
Oh, Greg.
Hey, it's Gregg Valentino.
Who? What's going on, guys?
There's an obelisk.
I guess how the pyramids were built.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
There's an obelisk in Iraq or Iran. I forgot which. I always confuse those two. It's about 150 feet long. It's about 100 feet by 100 feet. It weighs tons and tons, thousands of tons. Right. And what they find in the ground is scoop marks, like they melted the rock and scooped it out like ice cream.
Oh,
no one knows how they fucking did that.
Right.
I was there. It's not true.
Maybe the rock was like lava, like molten or something like that, and they just had they would cast it like almost like they would cast like anything,
There is a theory that the rocks were cast like cement.
Yeah,
but that's been debunked.
Jesus Christ.
So I don't know. There's definitely a technology missing that we don't have today that would account for what they were able to do, and that's what makes me believe that civilization was so advanced, but so long ago.
There's got to be more that we haven't found yet. Then
look at it this way: modern right now, America is what? When did Columbus discover America?
1492.
Right to what? 250 years ago.
Yeah.
Or no? Was it?
No, 1492 was it?
600 years ago.
600 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. Imagine 6,000 years ago.
Right.
Or 6,000 years from now.
Or 60,000 years ago.
Yeah, but you know what, John?
100,000 years from now.
How about this?
Which is on the clock, the evolutionary clock, 1 second, if that.
Greg will still be here, by the way, then.
Right.
We won't.
I was there when they built that, and I got to be honest with you, the craziest thing is that
Greg took a shit on one of those blocks there.
That's the cement.
It smeared it, and they said, "Holy shit, this stuff worked better than cement."
That's
why Greg got a job.
Listen, I'm the reason you should thank me, because I'm the reason you have cement today. I shit in back then, and they use my shit. And they're like, "This. Wait a minute, we throw some grass in this shit, and it's cement."
And they found that your shit that doesn't degrade over time, and that's why the pyramids are still standing.
I had actually ancient fiber lines, and it would make the shit more solid, so it would stick even better.
And the petrified, rock hard, solid shit still stinks.
Now listen, do you know what the craziest shit is too about the pyramids and everything? Like some of them have like what do you call it? Like windows that actually put light where you can actually go in there without light. You know what I mean? Like,
good point, because that's another thing. I'll make this point. I'll shut up about the pyramids forever. There's a lot of them have these passageways. Okay, so there's the famous one, the descending corridor passageway in the Great Pyramid that goes underneath the pyramid.
That kind of
1 meter.
Is it claustrophobic in there?
Yes.
Okay.
It stinks. It's 1 meter by 1 meter, 3 feet by 39 inches by 39 inches. You could not possibly get more than one guy in that space with a fucking chisel, right?
Right.
That passageway is 32 degrees angle.
Right.
Almost 400 feet long, 32 degrees. It varies by less than 2 degrees in 400 feet. It's perfectly square and it goes downhill. There's two problems with that. There's no soot on the ceiling, which means no candles, no torches. How did they see in the pitch dark to make a perfect fucking square? Second thing is carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen. You're on a 32-degree incline. You're at the bottom, chiseling away. You breathe up all the oxygen. The carbon dioxide is heavier than the oxygen. You have no oxygen. You have no light and no oxygen, yet you built a perfectly 1 meter square, perfectly square, 32-degree angle, 400-foot long shaft with a rock and a copper chisel.
Is it possible that they put the rocks in there? You know, they already had them pre-cut, so they knew.
No, they chiseled. It was underground. They cut. They
see the chisel. You could see the chisel mark.
Yeah, you can see that. Actually, there's saw marks. They actually see, you know, like a saw mark from a circular diamond saw.
Really? Wow.
And there's one. I went and saw it because I couldn't. I had to see this. There's a giant block. It's probably 8 feet by 8 feet, and they were cutting it. And you can see where the cut started going off to the side. Right. It goes off about 1.5 feet, about that much.
Right.
And they stopped. Obviously, they made a mistake. They stopped. They tossed it over here. Now, if you had a couple of 70 or 80 guys with fucking dull chisels hammering away, why would you go an extra 1.5 feet? Well, you would stop at the first millimeter that the thing was off, right?
Right.
Well, there is no question in my mind, none whatsoever, that the dynastic Egyptians.
I think Jimmy the Bull was working the machine to bore out the tunnel, and the fucking thing, one of the sides, it quit working because it was damaged, you know, because they gave him the bad machine, so the other one cut a little too much. So
somehow Jimmy would try to twist that into, that's the proof the earth is flat. And he'd be like, what?
Yeah, if he was here, I'd say, Jimmy, did the aliens come down and build these pyramids? There's no fucking aliens.
I know, but what I want to know is who puts the light on that? Like, you know, the big light in the sky that they said, you know, it's the sun's really just a giant light bulb. Who fucking changes that shit? Or like, where the fuck, you know, where's the light? You know what I mean?
Jimmy would say God. That's God.
But let me ask you a question. How come if the earth is flat, you know, how come the light, you know, it's the whole, does not that light.
Don't ask me. I don't have the answers to this.
It's such fucking insanity.
The other thing is, you know, we only hear about the pyramids. When you actually go there, there's way more than the pyramids. There's all kinds of shit. Other buildings, these giant elevator shafts that go way down into the ground, perfectly square, perfectly flat, perfectly plumb.
Elevator shafts, like where you have.
I call them elevator shafts. They're just big square holes in the ground. That go
John,
down.
what was the smell though? Like, what was that coming? I mean, it's fucking rock and dirt.
It's fucking.
I think that's the modern people who live there now. Someone like you, Greg, they're going on a tour and they're like, "Fuck, I got to take a shit. I can't get out of here." And you squat down, you take a dump, and it never gets taken away.
It didn't smell like shit. It had just this kind of yucky, dank, stinky. It was just smelled bad.
The air, I mean, was it breathable? I mean, how did they get
it wasn't that bad. Then you got all these people in there going, because it vibrates in there.
Dude, I pissed in Howe Caverns. You're not supposed to do. I
did that too.
Dude, there's no bathroom down there. You're in the tour. You know what I mean? And I'm like, holy fuck.
I was like 5. I was pissing on the side of the Howe Cavern. My mother, what are you doing?
Yeah, because they tell you. You're not even supposed to touch the wall like this because the ecosystem down there and the salts in your hands.
Yep.
And I ran behind the stalagmite. I told this story before. I know this is going to be somebody's fucking.
I don't think I've ever heard the story, amazingly, I don't think I've heard the story.
No, I was down there. You know what the craziest part is? This is no joke. I went in. I was down there. My children were young. We were pushing my daughter in a stroller. I was with my ex-wife. We had just basically gotten divorced and everything, but taking the kids. And my son was like 10 years old, and I had to pee so bad in there. I waited for everybody to keep walking, like it was a you're with a bunch of tour people, and there's a tour guide, and I waited till they all walked, and I ran from behind, and there was this giant I forgot which one, John. Which is the one that comes from the floor? There's a stalagmite and a stalagmite.
Stalagmite goes up, stalactite comes down.
Okay, there was a stalagmite. It was fucking huge. So I ran behind it and I was peeing all over there. And I guess my son.
It probably disintegrated after he peed on it.
The fuck, it was like an ice cube. It was melting. But my son comes running around and he goes, oh my God. And he tells me, I'm going to go tell mom. So, you know, as it is, I'm already divorced. We just got divorced, so she hates my, you know, hated my guts. And you really have to be like that. You really got to, you know, I got to hear that shit. So at the end of the tour, there's this thing on the floor. It's like a rock, and it's a star on it and shit. And you step on it, and it brings you good luck. And supposedly, a lot of people get married, and they go right on that particular rock. You know what I mean? And it's supposed to, you know, like get your dreams come true and all this other shit. If you make a wish on it, you know, because they tell you that there's spirits in the cave that take care of the cave. They look out for the cave. So my wife was stepping on a rock, you know, like this, you know, I want to meet somebody good, you know. And she steps on a rock. No shit. I came home. We came home the next day. 2 days later, my girlfriend OD'd and died. Right. About 2 weeks later, my girlfriend met the guy she's with now, her new husband, you know, who has kids.
Your ex-wife did. You met
my ex-wife. Sorry, my girlfriend is already dead. And then months later, I was arrested and sitting in a jail cell, and I was like, fucking, like, this can't be fucking true. All because I pissed on one of the
fucking stepped on the good luck thing, and you pissed on the stalagmite. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I swear to God. Wait, this is a true story. I swear to God, I went, you know, like my daughter. Then years later, everything, you know, caved in on me. I lost my all my money, my everything, you know, because of the arrest, and she took a lot of my money. So that's why I'm a broke ass right now.
At least someone got the money, though.
Huh?
At least someone got the money.
Yeah, she did. Well, her and the cops. Jeannie Pirro, who fucking arrested me, but Judge Jeannie from Fox News.
How much money did they take from you, Greg?
$250,000, but I lost about over $400,000 total because they took my car. I just bought a car. I fucking bought it cash. I finagled a deal with some guy. I bought a Yukon, and I paid $45,000 cash for it. They took that. They took a lot of shit. You
always take a loan out when you're drug dealing, right?
The fucking feds took my dry cleaning ticket and went to the dry cleaners and picked up my suits.
Hey,
yeah, they got them.
I'll give you one better. You know what they did with me? I had a bottle, a fucking jug like this of Viagra that my friend used to work at a pharmacy, and he would rob that shit. There was over 1,000 Viagras in that bottle. It was a big jug of it. And they took that. They never claimed it. So that's why all them fucking guys were at home with their wives. We're going to have a good time tonight. They're fucking cops, you know?
What I find hysterical is that, number one, nobody listening to this probably even knows what Howe Caverns is. Secondly, Greg and I both have a pissing story about Howe Caverns.
When did you piss at Howe Caverns?
I was about 5 or 6, maybe 8 years old. I was with my family. They took us to Howe Caverns. And there's this one spot in the tour when you're under there where it's pitch dark. And then they're going to turn the lights on and they show you all the fucking stalactites, stalagmites. So we walk down this thing. And of course, my mother and my father go, if you got to pee, go now, because we're not going to be able to go later, you know. And of course, me, I don't got to pee. And then until, of course, later I have to pee. And so we're in this pitch dark thing waiting for that to happen, for the lights to come on. So I go, what a perfect opportunity to pee. So I turn around and I whip it out and I start peeing on the wall. 3 seconds later, the lights come on. And I'm standing there peeing and my mother is mortified. My mother is absolutely having a heart attack, screaming at me.
Greg, is that the heart that your wife stepped on?
What? Yeah, it's the heart. Whatever it is, it's in like a And people actually get married. So listen to this. Literally about like almost 10 years later, my daughter had a school trip, and they were going to Howe Caverns, and they, and I was like a school mom, you know what I mean? So I went with them. And I was like this. I went down to the caverns and I back up and I saw where I pissed, in a big stalagmite, because it's in the thing. And John's right.
It's still yellow, probably, John.
There was a hole melted in it. But no, I'm kidding. But so I was like this. I made sure nobody looked. I actually have pictures. Holy fuck, I got pictures.
You did it again? You peed in the same spot?
No. I have pictures. I have my daughter take pictures. So I got pictures of me bending over, and I'm like this near the stalagmite, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
You beg for forgiveness.
I was just swear to God, I was like, I'm sorry. I'm fucked up, okay? No more shit happened to me, please. Because, dude, I was getting hammered.
Remember the scene? Remember the scene from Officer and Gentleman? I got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, it was like that. Shit, nobody DORs with a week left. But yeah, I remember that. That was a great movie. But the thing is, I'm like, holy fuck, man, my life was upside down. Remember, the cops took everything. They took fucking everything from me, and then she took everything from me too. So before you know it, she got $210,000 cash. I had socked away. There's so much shit happening.
She got half the money.
No. The cops took 250. She got 210. You know what I mean? My lawyer.
Where did she get the 210 from? Would you have that in her house or something?
Safety deposit box. But you know what's fucked up?
Thank God they didn't get it though. At least your kids got the benefit of it.
Yeah, you go to it. I'm not gonna say anything on it. Didn't go to my kids. I can say that now. You can ask them. But listen, no, she's a good girl. I mean, she was a great wife. I was the fuck up. I mean, I couldn't stop cheating, and I was a madman. You know what I mean? And anyway, so I had to take that picture, and then I told the guy that works there, one of the tour guides. I said, I got to be honest with you, I'm really sorry. I said, but I know they say to your spirits to look out for the cave down here and all this shit. And I said, I pissed on one of those stalagmites like 10 years ago. And, and he goes, don't even worry about it. He goes, I got to tell you something. Do you know how many times we come here? He goes, people shit in the elevator. Because what happens is the elevator waits for you. You know what I mean? It's down. Right. It goes down and you get out and you go do the tour. So the elevator waits. And people like panic. And instead of shitting behind maybe a stalagmite or stalactite, they run and they shit in the fucking elevator.
You would think, hold on, Greg, you would think by now they would install some bathrooms there because obviously there's a problem,
I don't understand that because John Romano's right. When you go there, sometimes it's dark. There's a fucking, the lights are on like a fucking extension cord, just bulbs hanging. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like they got fancy lighting fixtures.
Put a fucking bathroom down there. What's the big deal?
I don't understand
or something,
Yeah, listen, really. You got an elevator go there. You put electricity to have the fucking little
right.
Why don't you fucking put a goddamn?
You got an elevator. You could have a bathroom.
Dude, you're on a tour. And
I'm sure John can creatively build a bathroom there so it kind of fits the motif of what's going on.
Easily. Yeah.
I don't understand. Yeah, that's what it is. They wanted you to have I mean, basically, you're like a caveman down there, Jonathan. Is you like a caveman? The only electric is on a fucking goddamn extension.
Were you eating raw meat down there, Greg?
Dude, you're not supposed to. Oh my God! Don't bring food because food's got all kind of microbes and all this shit. And a crumb hits that fucking floor, it's worse than piss or shit. Because at least piss is like fucking, basically alcohol and ammonia and shit, But you get fucking a crumb on there, you go down there, some eco fucking monster.
Is it cold down there or no?
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah,
you're down
or hot, depends on where you are.
You're down, dude. But you're down fucking really deep down there.
But listen, I gotta go. I got a meeting. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right, John.
If it wasn't Jake Wood, I would put it off. But
yeah, that's important. So
it's kind of important. So, Greg, please take over.
Yeah, Greg. I want to actually get to the Iron Rage part of the show. We haven't even raged yet, but I think
I'll come on next week if you want.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
All right, Johnny. Good talking to you, man.
Good to see you.
All right, Greg. This is what I want to bring up to you. Now, I go to the gym a lot. I know you're in the gym too. I go to the gym, and I found that in modern day gym going, people don't share machines anymore. No. I brought this up before, but I every time I go, it irks me. No one will. Remember back in the day when we would go to the gym and someone's on the bench press. They're just about to start working. And you say, you know what? Can I work in with you?
Absolutely. Can I work in?
And you spot each other. And you put the weights on and off for each other, even if one guy's weaker than the other guy, but you pull the weights off, you put them back on, and you work together because you don't want to stand around for like a Momo for 20, 30 minutes. Nowadays, these people, they sit on the machine or on the bench with a phone, and they take 20 minutes and they do 3 sets in the 20 minutes, and they won't even share the bench with you. Now,
oh my God, if that hasn't happened to you, you know what's funny?
Drives me crazy.
Dave, I train at 12 o'clock at night, hoping nobody's there. And sometimes there'll be one person in the gym, right? I bring my girlfriend because she'll walk the treadmill or something.
Right.
And I tell her, make believe you're in the mall. So she'll put her fucking pocketbook on her arm and walk like this, you know. Anyway, so so I can't. I'm at 12 o'clock at night, and there's a guy in the gym, and I'm like, oh fucking no. And sure enough, I actually spray down all the machines I'm going to use, and I set them. I put the weights, and I set it all up so I can just go boom, 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 boom. And motherfucker, the guy, you know, guy's always on. I see him wiping off my spray and then changing the weights, and I'm like, fuck. And you know, if I say to him, dude, are you know, I want to work in. Do you want to work in? He'll say to me, yeah, I just got 2 more.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's what they say. I just got 2 more, and then
they do that. That's exactly they won't say no to me. They say I got 2 more. I only have 4 more sets. I'm like, that's a lot of. That's all I do is 4 sets. You know.
I know. Even if you ask, you mind if I work in real fast? And they'll say, I got 2 more sets. That's all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's his way of telling me no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you
got to pull a Charlie Arms on him. I think I got to start doing Charlie Arms.
Oh my God. That's what I was just going to say. You got to be like Charlie Arms. That's it. Get the fuck. Charlie Arms would grab you like this and throw you off the bench. He would throw you right off the bench. I'm telling you.
I've become a little more aggressive. What I say is I don't ask anymore. I'm like, I'm going to work in with you. Okay. And then they're like, you know, then they don't know how to respond because I'm not really giving them the option at that point. I'm saying I am working in with you, you know, and a lot of times if you say that to a woman and she doesn't really want to let you because she wants to get on her phone and everything, she'll just leave. She'll get off the machine and just go someplace else. So that's my new. So I wanted to give advice to people. If you guys are noticing the same thing where people are hogging machines and maybe the gym only has 1 machine that you want to use and you don't want to wait 30 minutes to get on it, you say to people, I'm working in with you. You don't give them the option. And then they have to respond. Now they're being threatened, essentially, being told what to do. So unless they're a real dick and they think that they can handle themselves, they're probably not going to say no to you. They're probably going to make a face or something like that. And that's fine. Then now you're on the machine with them.
Yeah, women are a little bit more like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. You know what? I'll just go do something else.
Right,
no. We could, you know, you could do, you know, because I guess they get it. Some of them get intimidated. You know, if it's an older woman.
The older guys, though, they're fine with it because they know from back. I'm like, and I even say to these guys, I'm like, you know, they're always like, yeah, no problem. And then I'm like, isn't it amazing how people in this gym won't let you work in? And then they're like, yeah, no, I fucking hate that too. Usually the guys my age, you know, 50, 60 in that age, you know, that they understand that was the way you did things back in the day. Everyone worked. Sometimes we had 6 guys on a bench press and we would just rotate. Boom, 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 boom. No rest.
It's that those days are gone. I think cell phones ruined everything because like I said, you know, I don't want to be in it. I also don't like when guys are filming each other. I've said that before.
Because they're setting up tripods. Of course, they can't let you work in because it's going to mess the tripod angle up or something like that.
I hate that. And they talk to the video. I'm going to do set right now. And I'm sitting there like, holy fucker, you fuck. And I'm in the background or something doing a fucking. And I'm like, hey, not with me here.
You can't do that during a busy time. If you want to come in during the middle of the day when no one's there and do your little videos, that's how you do it. You don't go during prime time. At night or in the morning, because there's 2 prime times. There's like the 7 to 9 crew, which is very busy usually. And then there's the like 5 o'clock, 5 to like 7 o'clock. That's another busy time to work out. You cannot be filming then or hogging machines at that point. It's just not good gym etiquette. You know?
No, it's not. But I'll tell you another thing that stews my clams. When you're there, and tell me this hasn't happened to you. You want to get on the machine and the fucking guy that's on the machine, if he says, you can work in. He's got the nose, like where he's dripping sweat off the end of his nose, because he's like one of them real intense guys, but he's a sweater. And you're like, oh, fuck, no, you know what? Because then you got to spray and, our gym, we have
You know what, Greg? I don't mind those people because they usually have a towel with them because they know they're sweaters.
Yeah, some of them,
like it, and I've said this, I've done plenty of videos on this, so I don't want to seem redundant, but I'm going to tell you it anyway. Everyone walks around with this, because they tell you to clean off the machines now. So everyone cleans them off, but no one wipes the spray off the machine. So they spray. They take a paper towel that doesn't have any absorbability and they wipe it and then they walk away. But the whole machine's wet now from all the spray. And who the hell wants to lay in a puddle of spray? So I say to people, I'm like, can you wipe this down? Oh, I just wiped it down. I'm like, would you sit in that wet? You left a wet spot. I'd rather you not wipe the machine down at all if you can't dry it when you're done.
Yeah, I get that. I fucking go in the gym, and like I said, I'll train at I train sometimes during the day, but when I'm there at 12 at night, I'll spray every machine. So before I start, so by the time I get there, it's been 45 minutes or whatever. It's sitting there, and now it's like drying on it, and it's like killing everything. But the other thing I don't
like, you go at 12 midnight, there's no one in the gym. You can do that. You can film if you want to film yourself there. I don't have a problem with that because there's no one in the gym. You're not inconveniencing anyone. But if you're going to spray that fucking machine, you better wipe that spray off. I tell people, I get to the machine, they're like, oh, I got to go clean it first. I'm like, don't clean the machine. You didn't sweat on it. Don't clean the machine because you're going to leave a wet spot there. I don't want that. All right. And then
I clean it myself, though. I'll clean it like if I don't even,
Greg, I could give a shit. I go home and take a shower. I don't even care.
Yeah, well, is my bald head, I lay in somebody's like grease. You ever notice where somebody's head is? There's always like a little grease circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If there was grease, I would wipe it down. But if the machine looks pretty clean and everything like that, and I could see no one really sweated on it before me, I'm like, just go to the next set. Don't wipe my machine down.
Yeah, but you know what kills me too is when you get one of those guys and they got sotto la braccia puzza, meaning they're fucking they got like the beef stew. I'm like, dude, is that fresh onion bagels I smell, or did you sleep in that shirt last night?
Greg, since I've been in Florida, I haven't smelled one person that smelled bad. I don't know if it's a New York thing with the ethnic, like people that they just smell us. No one stinks down here. It's amazing. But you're right. In New York, there's always at least 5 people in the gym that you can smell them when you walk in the door. And I know who they are too, usually. Let me tell you,
yes, me too. We've had girls that stunk so bad, the armpits, like the onion soup growing in the armpits. But listen, let me just explain to you. When Dave says that, he doesn't mean racial. He's talking about like ethnic background. Some people will eat like a lot of like in their diet, like they
Indian
eat garlic
people eat
and
curry, or like Italian people like you might have garlic, but you don't shower and it just comes out of your armpits.
Dude, sometimes it's breath though. I've been in a gym where some older guy, you see his mouth something, and he's walking that treadmill and he's breathing, and I'm like, holy fucking salami factory. You know what I mean? I'm like, holy Christ.
You know what though? I will say this, the Crunch Fitness where I work out at has one of these. The fan that's on the ceiling looks like it should be on a fucking 747 airplane. The thing spins 100 miles an hour. There's actually wind in the gym. Like your hair actually can blow. If I had hair, I would see it blow. But that's how much the wind. So it really does circulate the air well, which I like. And it has very high ceilings.
Right.
So even if there was a stinky bastard in the gym, I probably wouldn't smell him anyway. So.
Dude, the original gym I trained at is a legendary, Bob Beff's. That fucking guy was a great guy, but he used to he would sweat. He'd be one of those guys that would drip, the nose and drip off there. He would sweat. Listen to this, it's true story. He would take off his fucking clothes, fold them, put them back in the locker room, and then the next day wear the same clothes. And by the end of the week, bro, people would be like, even the members would be like, dude, you stink. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can ring that shit out.
Remember when you were in gym class? People would wear the same T-shirt for the whole semester.
For the whole school year.
Yeah. It would stink. Oh.
I remember back in those days, we couldn't, you had to bring sneakers to school. Yeah, it's gym day. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but up here when I was young,
we were actually allowed to wear sneakers to school, but yeah.
You were or you weren't?
We were. I never wore a pair of shoes to school ever because I hated shoes. But I know some kids would wear shoes in school, and then they go to gym class, they switch into sneakers,
See, yeah, that's when I was younger. You couldn't. You had to wear a collared shirt. You had to wear. You could wear like an Izod. But you got to remember, I'm 10 years before you. So
did you go to private school or did you go to public school?
No, I went to public school, but it was a thing. They didn't want no jeans. Couldn't wear jeans. You had to wear. You couldn't wear sneakers. You brought sneakers on gym day, and then some kids would forget, and they'd have to, to get in trouble. But or if you had a little basket, they had a basket.
Now in Florida, my kids, they go to school, they have like a uniform. It's like you said, it's like a little Izod shirt. They can wear shorts or long pants, but it has to be a certain color. And I think they did that because they don't want kids to feel like pressured to wear, because some kids can afford fancy clothes, some kids can't. So I think it made it like so that everyone wears the same thing pretty much. Which
I'm talking mostly when I was, in elementary school up to 6th grade. then the 70s started, and then they kind of let you win. And by the time I was in high school,
That's
man,
when I went to school in the 70s, 80s. So it was a lot different then.
Yeah, see, in the 60s, it was different. You had to wear a uniform at gym.
Right. You probably were still doing air raid drills in the 60s.
Yeah, we were. Oh my God. We were doing that shit. Duck your head.
Tell people what an air raid drill is, Greg.
Bro, if there's a fucking bomb, ducking your head.
They were afraid there was going to be a nuclear war, so they had air raid drills they taught you in school.
Oh yeah, because they used to have all that back then in the 60s. They're communists, and all that shit. They're gonna bomb us. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, we had the. I used to have to.
You had to get under the desk and put your right head down.
Right, but what is that gonna do for you? That's not gonna save you from.
Well, didn't all the schools have bomb shelters in them too?
No, not mine.
No.
No, not mine.
I think my high school had like a shelter in it.
Did they really?
Yeah, I think it was from back in the 60s, like you said. I think they had like a basement area. I know they turned it into the wrestling room. I know, but I think originally it was designed that if there was ever a bombing, you went downstairs into the room there.
Dave, you're 10 years older than me, but I don't know about you when you were in school. But speaking of that, do you remember the gyms? When I was in high school, the gym was a joke.
Universal set they had.
That's all we had was the Universal, and everybody was marveled at me because even when I was a freshman, I'd already been lifting weights and everything.
Yeah.
I used to be able to go in there and bench the stack. That was
why you could bench the stack was basically it was the guys with the shortest arms,
right?
Push the stack because you only had to move it this far. I had these long arms. It was like I couldn't push anything. It was like I was I had to move the weight so far that it was impossible.
Yeah, but you know what? I was also a very strong already bodybuilder, and I would be able to rep that shit out.
Remember that leg press, that universal leg press? There was like the top one and the bottom one. If you used the top one, it was heavier. You remember?
Right. It's funny you say that because in high school, I was very fast. My sister was a track star. It was all county track, and we, me and my sister were gifted with that shit because both my parents were athletes. But anyway, I was a really fast runner. I could run fast. I can sprint, and I could beat anybody in high school in a running in sprinting, and I could also run long distance. So one day I'm in the I'm in there, and I was young. I was maybe 14, 15 years old. It just got in high school, and I was always, I was built, but I never did leg. I didn't know to do legs. I'm training at home with fucking plastic weights, but I was really, I was built like a motherfucker. So I said, let me do my legs. So I got in there. I did that leg press that you just talked about. Just that. I did one set. My legs pumped up so much. I was like, holy fuck. I was having trouble walking when my legs were shaking. And then I said, oh no. And I said, oh shit. I went outside the gym door and I tried to run and I couldn't run. I prided myself on being so fast. And I was like, I'm never going to do legs ever again. Never. Because
everyone who trains legs has that same first workout, story. Like I was crippled. I couldn't sit on the toilet bowl for a week after I trained legs.
Yup.
Everyone, there's no exception. Everyone, the first time they train legs, describes the same thing. I don't know why it's so traumatic the first time you train legs. It's weird.
True. What's funny? The first time I benched with a bar, I bench pressed with a bar. Right. Yeah, I used to do it at my house. It was with plastic weights and shit.
Sure.
First time I benched with a bar, I had the greatest tricep workout I've ever had in my life. We're to the point where I actually couldn't raise my arms. My mother's like, what's wrong with you? And my mother told me, you're going to get muscle bound where you can't move. And I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't believe there was such a thing. And then when I tried that running, I actually thought I'd never going to be able to run again. I thought that pump I got in my leg, I thought, oh no, it's never going to leave. You know what I mean? I was so afraid. I will never do legs again. And then I worked, first I worked at a movie theater and then I worked at a grocery store. And at a grocery store, I was like a Momo. It used to be like, yeah, Greg, get the wagons. So I'd have to go outside and get the wagons.
You were with like the retarded people.
I was like I was the fucking, you have no idea, it was the Momo. Dude, I got fired. I'll take crazy shit. But I would take 20 wagons and I put them together and then I'd be pushing and run with them. And I would get the fucking wickedest leg pump you could ever imagine. And then I would go in the bathroom and I would take fucking ammonia and bleach and shit and I would throw that in and You know, when you mix that shit, it creates like a fucking noxious vapor.
Yeah, it's like gas. It goes into a gas form, right?
And I would do that. I'd leave it in the bathrooms because I was supposed to clean the bathroom, right? So I'd throw that shit in the bathroom, and the boss would call me up, you know, my manager, and he'd be like, "What did you do in the bathroom? People complain, I can't go in the bathroom." And I said, "I cleaned it." You know, dude, they used to have a hole in the back, you know, where the water goes in, like in a, you know, like where they scrape shit in water.
Yeah.
In the back room where all the stock is. And I would go in there. I had these long fucking fluorescent light bulbs, and I would throw them in there, and they would explode.
You'd make them explode, yeah.
And I kept doing it. And one day I'm standing up doing it, and I look up, and the manager's standing like this, looking at me, and he's like, "Get your shit and get out of here." And I did. As I walked out, I grabbed 3 nutriments off the shelves, you know. That I grabbed 3 of them nutriments, you know, because they were like the new thing, you know. And the Frosties, remember Frosties?
Yeah.
And I drank that. They were like shakes in a can. And I fucking took them, and I'd be drinking that shit, you know, because you know, you're not supposed to do that, but I did it. I was like fucking nuts because I hated the job.
I worked at the movie theater like you did, but I got fired because I was letting my friends in the back door, and they called.
Oh shit! Were you really? Yeah, I never got fired for the movie theater. Was great though. We'd sit and watch the same movie all the time. Like I remember, I was working there when the first movie Alien came out. The very first Alien.
You were way before me. The year I worked there, it was Back to School, Karate Kid 2.
Oh shit.
Big Trouble in Little China. I still remember the movies. That's how many times I saw them, Greg. Think about that. I can't remember what I saw last night on TV.
Me
I
too.
can tell you those movies because and the Rocky Horror Picture Show on the weekends, and The Wall, where all the stoners went, you know.
Yeah, we used to play Rocky Horror. Like we'd have events where we'd play. But I remember I used to just sit there and watch Alien because it was like that was like so, you know, that was like the beginning of more
movie when it came out. Yeah.
Technology where fucking guy's chest opens up and his fucking thing comes out, and you know the whole. I would sit there. I'd watch that movie. I could sit there in the back and I'd be mouthing the words, you know, like please, you know, don't go, you know, we need to kill this alien, you know, like that kind of shit.
I know all the words to Back to School because of that. Rodney Dangerfield. Remember when he?
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
The Triple Lindy. You remember the Triple Lindy dive off the diving board he did?
Yeah. Dude, I love
one
that.
board to the other board. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, go from one board to the other board, bang into the water. I remember that.
They're like, you remember? I remember seeing a guy in Coney Island 25, 30 years ago. He did this dive. I think it was called the Triple Lindy. And it was Rodney. He's like, that was me. I did that.
Yeah, that's when comedy was great. But just, you know, those kind of, you think back about that shit. You know, I'd be sitting there and we'd have to make the popcorn. You know, we used to do stupid shit. Like I put the fucking.
You know, Greg, speaking of popcorn, I used to make the popcorn without because you can put butter on the popcorn, but then there was a button you pushed that squirts like this disgusting oil that they basically get boiled in the kernels. And then when they pop, they absorb all that like horrendously unhealthy oil. So I would make the popcorn without it.
Really?
And, yeah. So it was like basically air popped. It was so light. It tasted good. You didn't get a stomach ache after. And they would scream at me. They're like, are you hitting that button? I'm like, oh yeah, I hit the button. I'm like, the popcorn tastes amazing. Don't you think so? No, it's not. People are complaining. It's not whatever. It doesn't look like enough butter on it. I'm like,
you used to do shit like that. Yeah. We had a big like vat of grease. It's like this orangey yellow grease.
Yep.
And you have to scoop that, throw it in a thing, then throw the kernels with cooking that shit. You know what I mean?
We had a button to push. The button squirted that disgusting lard. It was lard, basically.
Yeah. It was lard.
I knew it was terrible for you. So I'm like, I like popcorn, but I don't want the fucking lard all over it, especially if I'm eating it all night, you know, because you get no. That's why people don't understand why they get a stomach ache when they leave the movie theater. It's not the popcorn; it's that lard that they're fucking boiling.
It's cooked in this orange, disgusting orangey yellow lard. Yep. It was grease like fucking Vaseline. We used to have to take a giant scoop like this big. It was a scooper. I had it. Right in the fucking thing in there.
It's exactly what's in your arteries, clogging them. You know,
yeah, right.
They're basically taking the cholesterol in your arteries and they're putting it in there and boiling the popcorn kernels in it. You know.
Did you ever catch people having sex? I used to see fucking guys getting blowjobs and shit.
No. My theater wasn't as progressive as yours was, obviously.
Well, you know, this is like the 70s. I worked there in the 70s. Did I work there up until 80? I don't know. I worked there during the,
I was in 86, I think I were 85 or 6. I worked there.
Yeah, I was there before that, like 78, and it was fucking crazy though. I loved that shit. That was one of my favorite jobs ever.
Yeah,
You just sit and watch movies.
I hooked up with a lot of girls there when I was at the movie theater because there was always girls coming in, and they gave us. I will say one thing: we had really cool looking like black suits. They gave us like blazers and shit like that.
I was just gonna say that I had to dress like a uniform.
Yeah. They were cool looking, and and I had a good tan from the summer and shit. I was, and I wasn't, I wasn't like a rapper with these girls, but these girls would just come in and they were all like, my age, around, teenagers and stuff like that. And you're just there and you just start talking to them. You don't give a shit, and there could be 100, hot girls every single day you see, and eventually some of them will talk back to you. It was a great.
I used to kick it to me and my friend worked there together. I used to kick it to the girls all the time. You know what the craziest thing was? When I was in high school, and I was working it while I was in high school, earlier in high school, then I worked at the strip club, but whatever. And that was at night anyway. But my teacher, right? He was handicapped. He had I guess what do you call it? The polio, where you walk on. We had he had to walk either with the sticks, you know what I mean, or he had that walk like that. He was crippled, but he was a crazy motherfucker. Mr. Burns, and he was a crazy motherfucker. And he had, I guess, his daughter. He was there with his daughter, had trouble there, and he came down. And and here's a guy that can't fucking walk right. He's got the polio. And he came in and he asked for the manager because the manager and his daughter had it out in there. And the manager comes down, and the manager and him start going at it, and this guy starts charging the manager, and he went, to fist fight him. And I broke it up, right? And he was throwing shit at the manager. There was a soda, he threw it in the manager's face, and the manager and I didn't get along. So the cops come, they arrest my teacher, Mr. Burns, and I told the cops, nah, he was right. Dave, the guy's name was Dave Totillo. He was wrong. Right. So anyway, they actually went to court, and they brought me up in front of the judge because I was a witness, because my teacher was like, Greg, you got to help me out. And I said in court, by that time I had Dave Totillo, and I had such a problem. I had to leave there. You know what I mean? He made it horrible. Go clean the bathroom with your tongue or something, with a toothbrush. So I was like, fuck this motherfucker. So when I got there to the court, I said, nah, Mr. Burns is right. He was calling him names. You fucking cripple, you this, you that. And the judge looked at my ex-manager, and he's like, I'm awarding Mr. Burns here. So Mr. Burns made a money settlement out of it. And he fucking loved me, Right. And when people in school would talk, I say something or whatever, and bring my name, would bring up, he'd be like, don't ever talk about Gregg Valentino. Let me tell you something.
Oh, he loved you. You were like his son.
He loved me. He fucking loved me because I saved his ass, because he was really he started the trouble.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He should have thrown you a couple bucks on the side too, for that.
He may have done something for me. I don't remember, but he was such a good guy. I didn't give a shit. I liked him. Everybody liked him. You know what I mean? He was throwing fuck bombs and all that stuff. And back then you didn't see you're talking.
You couldn't do that in school. No one did that in school.
No, you're talking. This is the 70s though. Right. You know what I mean? Teachers had a different they weren't telling you to transgender and shit back then. Right. So he was a great guy, Mr. Burns, man. Well,
we're going to wrap up the show, Greg. We're at an hour. Thank you for joining us today and telling us some. I actually heard stories from you today that I never heard, which to me is. I gotta ask the right questions, because I never heard almost all these stories, which is amazing. So.
Well, you know what you're gonna get. There's gonna be people in the comments. I heard that story.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter, because I do the show for me, so I didn't hear the stories. So I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who haven't heard them. And guys, if you're at the gym and you're on a machine and you see someone come up who wants to use it, you know what? Instead of waiting for them to ask you, tell them, hey, you want to work in with me? That's the right way to be. That's gym etiquette. And I'm telling you, it will come back to you. Don't be a douchebag at the gym, because you know what? That's why people don't like people on phones, and they start getting a bad feeling, and then they don't go to the gym because you act like a bully. Even though you're not saying anything, you're acting like a bully by not allowing people to use a certain machine.
Right.
Always ask if people want to work in. If they say no, then don't worry about it. But at least make the offer.
Hey, you know what? Throw a fart, then they won't want to use that. They'll be like, I'll use another fucking machine. You finish over there. Dude, really fast. I might have told you a story. You know, back in the fucking in the early 80s, you know, like the late 70s, you had those men wore short shorts. They weren't down to the knees and stuff, you know.
I wore
and
them.
I was at Gold's Gym and fucking I had Ray Menser. I asked him, "Can you spot me?" And I knew him. He was an absolute insane, the fucking way crazier than anybody. And I knew Mike too. I got pictures, but Ray Menser spotted me, and I was doing bench, and a little black pubic hair fell out of the side of his corner and landed right on my fucking face. A little tiny hair, and I even told him, "Oh fuck," you know what I mean? Like, and he was like, "That's not from me." And I'm like, "Who else?" You know what I mean? But you know, because the shorts were a little bit, you know, like this little space. You know what I'm saying? And he's standing over you like this when you're doing a bench. You know, we were on it. It was a power rack. What's that?
Did you sniff it a little bit?
No, I was so like fucking upset. I couldn't function because I saw it coming too. I was doing a set, and there comes the little hair. I saw it fall like a little dust. It was like a little piece of dust, and it just came down, and it fell on me. And I had a black fucking Ray Menser's pubic hair on me.
Now that story may never be topped by anyone in any other walk of life. There you go, Gregg Valentino original. Thank you, Gregg. Kept it. And thank you guys for watching and tuning in. We'll see you again next week. Lee Priest hopefully will be back, and you know, more trouble as always. Take it easy. Thanks, Greg.